Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video lecture I shall be discussing Carl Jung's 4 stages of psychotherapy, and we shall discuss it in relation to the text The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. As in my previous lecture I already explained the 4 stages of psychotherapy, namely confession, elucidation or explanation, education and transformation. And now we shall see how Anne Frank, through her journal writing, through her diary writing, undergoes all the 4 stages of psychotherapy. So let's start. As far as the first stage of psychotherapy is concerned, that is confession, we find Annie addressing her diary as Kitty, because she finds in Kitty a non-judgmental confidante, and we find that she is the only person in whom she confides. She confesses all her inhibited emotions, all her secrets, all her feelings, thoughts, everything. So this is how she undergoes the first stage of psychotherapy, which is confession, because we find Annie interacting with Kitty in such a candid manner. She doesn't hesitate to, pen down each and every feeling of hers in her diary. As far as the second stage is concerned, that is more important, because here we come across the explanation or the analysis of all her revelations that she has made before Kitty. In the second stage, we find her talking about her puberty, what impact it had on her. She also speaks about her adolescent age. She says that it is because of her adolescence that she has become more and more emotional and isolated as well from the people around. She also speaks about what kind of physical changes have taken place in her because of her puberty, and she also talks about the several emotional turmoils or changes that she was undergoing during that time period. Because of her because of her being an adolescent. In fact, we find that while talking about her life, while talking about her secret affairs to Kitty, she never hesitates for once, to express her grievances for her mother as well as for her sister. Because it is seen from her, it gets revealed from her writing that she was more closer to her father, which is kind of the Electra complex, which reaches its height during this stage of puberty. Then apart from that, she also she refers to the several boyfriends that she had. Here she also refers to Peter, who was initially disliked by Annie, but then later on their intimacy grows and they become intimate with each other. And she also mentions her first kiss. And finally, she addresses the war, the Second World War, which which serves as the backdrop of her narration. She talks about, how this war, the Second World War, brought her life to a standstill, and how the fear which always haunted her, it made her have nightmares, terrible dreams while she slept. And she says that these nightmares, her fears, the fear of being caught by the Nazi party at any moment, this fear haunted her to such a degree that she used to have nightmares. And she says that these fears, these horrible, terrible dreams and nightmares simply stifled her dreams as well as her dreams that she had in her life, as well as her aspirations. So basically what we find in the second stage, that is the stage of elucidation, we find Annie Frank simply explaining, analyzing all the events that occurred in her life during that time period while she was in the secret annex along with the other 7 members while they were in their hiding. And this is how Annie undergoes the second stage of psychotherapy, which is elucidation or explanation. Talking about the third stage of psychotherapy, which is education. I already discussed that the stage of education implies, employing several strategies, mechanisms to make the individual come out of himself or herself and adapt to the normal environment or attain that normal adaptation. As far as Annie Frank is concerned, we find that her education is a bit different because she didn't have any therapist. And we know that psychotherapy, according to Carl Jung, is a dialectic process where there is a discussion between two people. So if we discuss psychotherapy, then there should be a patient as well as a therapist. But in case of Annie, there is the complete absence of the patient therapist relationship. Why? Because in her case, it is her journal writing which serves which performs the role of a therapist, because it provided her the platform, it provided her with the medium, to voice forth her hidden emotions, her hidden sentiments. So as far as the third stage of education is concerned, we find that Annie had firm faith in God, and it is her immense faith and trust in God which constituted her education, because it provided her with the strength to overcome the stress, the anxiety that she was undergoing at that point of time. In fact, for Annie, God supplied her with those tools which she may use in such a helpless situation in order to strengthen her mind, as well as to be optimistic, nurture hope, and be positive at the same time. So it's a kind of pillar, we can say, that for her the existence of God, or not the existence of God actually, but it is her immense faith and trust in God which served as a pillar for her, which enabled her overcome the problems that she was facing. And here we find that she was, through her extreme faith in God, she was actually convincing herself that the present situation, the current situation that she was in, will eventually come to an end. So she was kind of self-conditioning herself. So she herself played the role of a therapist, trying to calm herself, trying to calm her mind, disturbed state of mind. And so we can say that religion, or her extreme faith in God, and her self-conditioning goes hand in hand. And not only that, it was a kind of, she was as if coaching herself, tutoring herself in order to convince that this present state will finally pass away. So this is how we find that the education of Annie Frank took place, and this is how she was able to make the attempt at least to transcend her problems and see it or look at the present situation as a test to which the Jews were put, And she felt that after they are able to, successfully pass through this test, they will be rewarded. So that reflects her total faith in God. And this completes her education, which is the third stage of psychotherapy. While let's talk about the final stage, which is the stage of transformation. So in case of the stage of transformation, what we find is that, according to Carl Jung, self-awareness and honesty are very much required in order to cure a patient. So in case of Anne Frank, we find that the way she has penned down her life, the way she has penned down her secret affairs, all events related to her life, whether it is good or bad or dark, it reflects her honesty and at the same time how much self-aware she was. So how does Annie, complete the final stage of transformation? In her case, instead of a patient-therapist relationship, we come across an individual who is highly introspective, honest, and self-aware. And she is able to undergo this final stage of transformation through her journal writing, which shows her honesty, her self-awareness, as well as her introspective nature. So, as far as Annie's transformation is concerned, we see that she not only, through her self-narrative, constructs a new identity of her own, but she also deconstructs herself. And by deconstruction here I mean by revealing herself as she was in reality. She did not hide a single fact about her life, and that led to her deconstruction, which implies deconstructing her identity and using it simultaneously to construct an identity of her own. So, as far as Annie is concerned, this self-awareness and honesty, now these two features are very important features of a self-narrative. So, when we go through her diary, we've come across that introspection on her part. We come across that honesty on her part, because she actually used her journal writing to relieve herself of the stress and fears that she was undergoing. And it also shows that the narrator here is Annie, but who the narrator is Kitty, or whoever it is, because in the text we find that there are many fictional characters with whom she interacts through her journal writing. So these characters, they actually witness how Annie's value system gets expanded and strengthened at the same time, and that she made possible through her extreme faith in God. In fact, the time period which was very, very disturbing, a time when everything around her was destructive, everything around her was falling apart, at that time she was able to construct her identity. In fact, the historians say that Anne Frank, through her diary writing, was not only able to build, able to provide an account of history, but at the same time she was able to build her character through her narrative. So, as far as the self narrative is concerned, we can say that the self narratives, have the ability to synthesize fragments of everyday life into concise and structured plots. And that also makes it easier for us to examine the self, where there is hardly any need for a therapist, because this is what we come across in The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I hope you are able to understand how the 4 stages of psychotherapy work in the text, The Diary of a Young Girl. So if you like the lecture, if you find it useful, do like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Until then, bye bye.